Okay, it's 5 o'clock, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Jenny, do you want to do roll call, please?
Hankins?
Yes, here.
Triplett?
Here.
Bowersox?
Yes.
Sires? I have not seen him call in on the line yet. Let's see. Olfest?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Dietz?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay. Jenny, do you have anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
Yes, I have 3 people. I will unmute Michelle Cook's line first, and then we'll go down the.
I think we have to vote on the approval of the agenda, don't we? Got a first and second. I don't
yes,
recall a vote.
I guess you're right, we do. We should, let's vote on the approval of the agenda.
You can just do that as all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's been passed. So Jen, you had 3 people that wanted to speak.
Yep. Michelle, I have unmuted your line. If you wish to address the commission, just state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 5 minutes.
Yes, good evening. This is Michelle Cook. I live at 1106 Tradition Drive in Polk City. And for the record, my husband, Howard, is also with me. Thank you for your time tonight. One of the things I want to address the Planning Commission on is the recommendation about approving the preliminary plat and site plan for the proposed Ledgestone Ridge. I listened to last week's meeting, and I want to address the townhomes. And as you know, townhomes were originally agreed upon as being at a minimum what would be developed on that parcel of land with Nat Properties and the city. Last week during the meeting, I felt like the developer misrepresented why the Vintage Cooperative did not move forward. As he was discussing building costs, he had said building cost is the reason the other developer backed out. I know for a fact there's another builder who has had interest in developing something that conformity, design, and architecture of the TCI properties, and he's able to make the numbers work. Just for whatever reason, he hasn't moved forward. However, I just feel like that was misrepresented. I absolutely believe there's a spot for that development, for development of that land, for something that matches with the TCI properties, as we were all led to believe would be there. And so therefore we felt our investment and TCI was protected. The other thing is I feel like for starter homes, absolutely there's a market, but this is the wrong location. It's not a good fit. It's not in continuity with the neighborhoods. It would be right in the middle of one of Iowa's most premier and beautiful golf courses, and in the middle of one of Des Moines' most premier neighborhoods. So why would you want to approve and move forward a project that is a completely different product? And the other concern, which is very disturbing, is that it would be built, the developer would walk away, and the homeowners are responsible to maintain the exteriors of their homes. There would be no management to oversee the integrity of the exteriors, to oversee any covenants or have any covenants whatsoever, and no way to manage the conformity of the look and style. I feel like this development in very short time will turn into a low rent neighborhood. So I'm really urging the council not to approve that this move forward as a recommendation to approve the developer's plat and site plan changes. As a resident out in Tradition Drive, if this moves forward, not only me, but the other 20 some residents here, plus the ones on Boulder Drive, we're the ones that have everything to lose because our home value will spiral. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, now I'm going to unmute Ms. Dowd. You may address the commission.
This is Lisa Dowd, and Jenny Dowd is with me today. I was told by, I live at 1006 Tradition Drive in Polk City. I was told by Jenny not to duplicate the statements and only to speak on new items. I'm going to try and do that. So I'm simply trusting that each of you have read the TCI neighborhood letters. I am going to make a statement first, and then I will follow with only 2 questions. This developer wants to build duplex starter homes without HOA guidelines in a $500,000 plus neighborhood. For 30 years, I worked in a large corporation, and I could not keep coworkers in cubicles from disagreeing. What I see forming here seems to be a recipe for disaster. So my questions are, isn't one of the main purposes of the P&Z to protect property owners in Polk City? And how do you plan on doing that in this situation?
And Lisa, the commission won't address your comments. They will acknowledge that you've made them, so they will not be able to answer your questions at this time.
Okay, I think they're important questions.
That's fair. Do you have anything else to share?
No.
All right, thank you. I will now unmute Michael Triplett, and you can address the commission.
Excuse me. Thank you. I'm Michael Triplett. I live at 1005 Tradition Drive. Deanna Triplett, who serves on this commission, is my wife. We have already sent an email, so I won't go over that. But the question I have is that by dint of chance, I was sitting next to my wife in the basement of the state capitol building when this meeting was going on. And I can't figure out whether or not this issue actually passed, because what happened, the part that I could listen to, everything went forward as if it failed. And so the question I would have is, if it did fail, or it was mentioned to have failed, and then no further action was taken on this, and then someone came in after the fact and said it did pass, is that actually a fair vote that the commission took? And shouldn't it have to be done again? That's the only question I have. Our other complaints about this project are in writing. Thank you.
And Michael, I will follow up with you after the meeting to answer those questions. As far as the commission, that is all I had for comments other than the ones that I have put in your packet that were written.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. And thank you to the 3 homeowners that did speak. As Jenny mentioned, the commission cannot address these issues, but they have been stated, and they will go on then to the city council. So moving forward on our agenda, our next, we recommend to the council to approve the preliminary plat and the site plan for Ledgestone Ridge. You commissioners, you did get it in your packet. Is there any discussion? Kathleen, do you have anything you want to say on this?
Yeah, I can. Chris Bauer from Shive Hattery is here as well. He may want to make a presentation. I will tell you that we reviewed the preliminary plat and site plan based on P&Z's approval of the PUD amended master plan. So since P&Z voted 3-2 in favor of that, what you see in front of you tonight is based on P&Z's approved plan. They did address all of staff's review comments. And so we don't have any issue with approving it, subject to council's approval of the amended PUD master plan prior to action on the preliminary plat and site plan. We also recommend that the signed easement documents for off-site easements be in place prior to issuance of a grading permit for the site. There is a storm sewer that would be connected to the existing detention basin that's on the hotel property to the north. So they need to get easements from the hotel to accommodate that construction. Again, I don't know if Chris has anything further he wanted to present, but it is in substantial conformance with the approved PUD master plan per the commission's recommendation to council.
Yeah, I'm definitely here to help answer any questions. If you'd like further detail on the preliminary plat, I can certainly run through that for the council. But if there's no questions, I can let you proceed.
Hey, Jenny, this is Doug Sires. Would you note that I just logged in?
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
I just got back from Florida.
Okay.
And this is Jared Ruckel. I would like to say a couple things real quick before you, and then answer any questions as well if you have any. So one, I just wanted to clarify a few things. It seems I appreciate the neighborhood's emails. I read through those as well. I wanted to just maybe clarify a couple things. One, the development here has always been zoned to allow for bi-attached units. And so the PUD amendment that was approved, the biggest change wasn't to switch to bi-attached concept. It was always there. The biggest change was we switched to a 35-foot front yard setback. And the intent there was to allow for public street. It lengthens the driveway and improves, puts a bigger front yard on the units. So they look more similar to a, residential development rather than a townhome development. Our intent is for this to be a high-end bi-attached neighborhood. Obviously it is on the golf course, so we want to continue with that. We did also put together a 3D rendering of the concept showing the landscaping plan as well. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at that. If not, Chris has it available. We can pull it up and share that as well. So otherwise I'm open to answer any questions and like to do anything we can to try and make this, like I said, a nice high-end bi-attached development.
I had one question, maybe for you, Kathleen. I noticed several of the lots, and I wasn't at the meeting last week, but several of them are under the 5,000 square foot that was approved under the 2012.
Right. Yeah. The proposed development plan calls for a minimum of 4,000 square feet lots rather than 5,000. So yes, they are under what the prior plan was. They also have a minimum lot width of 35 feet rather than 40 feet as was originally proposed. But as Jared said, the previous plan allowed for patio homes, which is kind of single family detached in a townhome regime. It allowed for single family homes. It allows for bi-attached. There was no requirement in the previously existing PUD that required it to be in a homeowners association where all the units would be under one management. There was no requirement for that. The PUD plan that was previously in place also allowed for commercial uses on this lot if they came back with a master plan. So the main changes were compared to the original one with the PUD amendment that P&Z recommended be approved is the switch to a public street versus private, which as Jared said, kind of does increase the setbacks from the street because you've got the right of way plus a setback. Then the reduction in lot sizes from 5,000 to 4,000 square feet per unit, the change from a 40-foot wide lot to a 35-foot wide lot. And then they did, rather than having a traditional style architecture, they had a farmhouse style architecture, but there's no code requirement related to architectural style per se, but that was a change.
Okay, my other question, I guess for Jared. Jared, given the amount of letters and comments from local residents, have you met with them, or do you think it would be wise to meet with them to accommodate their concerns before this gets farther down the road?
Yeah, like I said, I'm open to meeting with them and talking through some of the concerns, but it seemed like from the comments and the letters, the biggest issue that they seem to have is that it seems to be this bi-attached, just that it's a bi-attached rather than a garden home or patio home. So I'm not sure. Obviously, we've put together a bi-attached based on the zoning that's there. And that's the concept that we like. Not to say that we can't come up with something different, but I guess I'm confused. Typical R2 zoning allows for either one of those. Those two products are very similar and kind of interchangeable, I guess, in a typical R2 zoning. But
well, I guess I'll step out in front of some of the other comments here, but I first of all compliment you on coming forth with the proposal, and I think in some locations what you've proposed would fit very well. My biggest concern, I guess I would reflect the comments I've seen on almost every letter that came in, was in that particular neighborhood in the front door to TCI. The two-story farm home just, to me, doesn't seem to fit. And I know it fits all the legal regulations we've been given for P&Z, but I think there's also an aspect of guardian protecting that area a little bit for P&Z or any area in town as far as that concerned. If they were a ranch style, maybe with more brick on them, something that would fit the neighborhood better, I would be more, I guess, in favor of it. But honestly, right now, I'm really not. If it were in my neighborhood, I wouldn't want it either. But again, I know you put together a very nice presentation here, and I'm not trying to denigrate what you've done, because I know you've put a lot of effort and time into this. Mm-hmm. But I do share the neighbor's concern, and before we vote on it, I just wondered if maybe it would be well to meet with the neighbors, or maybe we vote on it and then you meet with the neighbors, because I don't know how this will go. But those were just a few comments I had regarding the proposal, and I didn't see it last week. I wasn't here, but just trying to catch up on it. That's kind of, and driving around the neighborhood, I've kind of come up with that conclusion, I guess.
And from an architectural perspective, I think Big Creek Valley has been one of the premier developments in Polk City. And, basically what I'm seeing going down there is about half of the homes are very similar in architectural style to what's on Tradition Drive right now. And the other half are farmhouse style, very similar to this, and obviously when you do a bi-attached home, it's a larger home, so even though they're two smaller units, they look more like a full-size home, like a full, like a $750,000 home, just because they're one building, So that was what the intent was that we were trying to do. I understand your concerns, and I guess the other concern that was brought up was with the HOA association. I'm certainly open to setting that up to manage it. It was basically, when we looked at this, being it's now a public street, we were thinking that it would make more sense just to empower the owners to take care of their own house, just like you would a residential home. So maybe there's a good hybrid there that the association, there will be an association set up for the stormwater management and for the monument sign. So maybe we add into that some irrigation requirements, or, you know, to irrigate the front yards or something like that, so that there's more of a consistent look. But the look we were going for was trying to get away from a townhome regime and more feel like a residential neighborhood. Again, to try and match the concept there. But, and again, I'm certainly open to suggestions for improvements.
Any additional comments?
I'll throw out just one more question. Kathleen, I know you've probably looked at this, but I noticed the detention was greatly reduced with this plan. I'm assuming there is.
Actually, the detention is increased with this plan. They're actually adding some detention at the kind of the southeast corner of the site that was not there before, where the previous idea was that all of it would go to the hotel. So they have actually provided a little bit more detention in this one than what was shown on a master plan. You don't get into the level of detail on a master plan on detention, however. So, and the other plan never progressed to the point of a site plan.
Okay.
I guess I had one other comment, that this plan has been through the TCI design review process and was approved both from a landscaping perspective and architectural perspective. So the TCI piece has already weighed in on that. I think Tom Whitman is actually on the call if you had any further comments, Tom.
Yeah, this is Tom Whitman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, the design review committee for TCI, we did review it and made comments to Jared about upgrading the garage doors to carriage style, adding some shutters. Jared had an alternative building elevation for the rear of these units that we thought better reflected and tied the front to the rear. One concern we had was the face that these buildings had, from the golf course. And Jared agreed to that. We asked him to beef up some of the support columns on a roof at the patios to 8x8, and he agreed to that. We made some comments about the landscaping that he agreed. He agreed to all of our comments, and therefore we did write a letter approving the project by the TCI Design Review Committee.
Who's all on the TCI Review Committee?
Stuart Ruddy, our general counsel, Bill Knapp II, the co-chairman of Knapp Properties, and myself.
Thank you.
And Tom, while you're on, I had one other, just if you could help clarify a little bit at reading through some of the letters. It seems like maybe there's a misconception that the 28 unit plan that was shown on the original PUD master, that was, like an agreement or was agreed to up front. My understanding of that is that was a preliminary concept and a concept only. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, and Kathleen, I'm sure you know the history of the zoning as well, and the previous PUD concept, but we felt that what Jared's proposing, it's part of the falls in line with the PUD concept. As Kathleen mentioned, the PUD would allow for some commercial uses, which Jared is not proposing. He's going to a public street concept versus private. In my mind, that's a big improvement. A better way of having a project of this style. better maintained and, increased front yard setbacks, which gives it more of that traditional subdivision feel.
I would like to address, Jared, your comments regarding the plan, the master plan. Maybe I'll provide you with a little bit of context as to why the neighbors on Tradition Drive and Boulder Point are concerned about the proposal for the area by the hotel. When Knapp wanted to put a hotel in to help support the golf course, there was significant consternation from those of us that live on Tradition and Boulder Point. Anytime one talks about new commercial development that close to one's home, it gets people's attention. We met with the mayor, Gary Harrent, the city manager, Gary Mahana, several of Knapp representatives, I believe Mr. Knapp himself. We discussed with them several concepts, layouts, and designs. After much consideration, we all agreed to the layout and design that is indicated in Pod K PUD master plan, which I believe the commission has received, which has 28 garden homes, and the architectural character of the garden homes were traditional. Yes, the zoning allows for single family homes, garden homes, bi-attached, and commercial. However, we all agreed at the time to the plan with the 28 garden homes and the architectural character of the traditional. We felt we had a good faith agreement with the city at all. However, that had all changed last Monday. That, Mr. Ruckel, is why you have the consternation of the neighborhood. And yes, it was an agreement to those of us that sat out in the field with the hotel, walking through that parcel of land. I'm providing that for context for you to understand why there is perhaps some upset people.
Okay, thank you, Deanna. Is there any reply or any other comments? Okay, if we don't have any
I guess
other...
I'll just throw out some comments. It's my understanding that in going out to the website, Polk City website, that the PUD master plan and then also these site plans are on the council agenda for tonight. And it's also my understanding, and we've already made a recommendation on the PUD master plan. And so the question is how do we handle the site plan? It's my understanding whether we, give a recommendation of yes or no recommendation at all, council is still going to be visiting, about that tonight. I guess, given the number of comments that we have, I would like to, request that to our councilman liaison that, if indeed all of these comments haven't gotten in the hands of council members, that at least you express, the number of them that were received by P&Z and reviewed. As I read a lot of these comments, I guess I felt a lot more of them applied to the PUD master plan, which we have already acted upon, than upon the site plan, which is the only item on our agenda tonight. And so in other words, we're going to be acting on the site plan. These comments aren't, as I look at it, a lot of them aren't related to the site plan, but indeed were related to the PUD, and that's why it'd be real helpful if at least some of that information could get passed on to council through the liaison.
Yeah, so I believe we've gotten copied in on all the same materials. I was looking through those in the packet, and we've gotten other, I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. A lot of the same information is being sent multiple times, it looks like, but I'll confirm this with staff. But I think myself and my peers have gotten everything that P&Z has gotten as well. Did that answer your question, Ron?
Yeah, sure does. Thank you.
Sorry, I did have to stepped away for a second, so I didn't know if I missed anything, but thanks for asking.
Any additional questions or concerns? Okay, let's go ahead and make a, does anyone want to make a proposal to vote on this?
Well, yeah, I guess where I am is we did what I would consider to be the heavy lifting on this, which was the review of the site plan last week, have already made that recommendation. And as I look at it, as we're looking at the site plan, we are really making a comparison to what is presented to that PUD master plan that we have indeed already presented. And looking at staff's write-ups, the review comments, you know, I don't see that there's, you know, a lot of issues with sidewalks, you know, stormwater retention, you know, those kinds of issues. So I guess with that said, I would go ahead and make a, you know, go ahead and make a recommendation here that we recommend to council approval of the preliminary plat and site plan for Ledgestone Ridge, subject to staff's and engineers' comments and recommendations dated March 11th, 2021.
I second that.
So is this time for discussion? Further discussion?
Yeah.
Jenny?
Typically you would vote since you have a motion and a second, but I'll defer to Chelsea to confirm if there needs to be more discussion now or after the vote.
Yeah, I think if she has something further that she wants to discuss, that's fine.
I would just throw out there, I think we need to listen to the 30-some people that wrote to us and requested that we not take action on this and that we certainly do not approve it to go to council. We have in the past, as a commission, anytime we've had consternation or concerns from neighbors, we have listened to them. We have asked then that the developer reach back out to the said parties of interest and work with them before bringing it further to our attention. I think there is some question as to whether or not the vote that was taken on Monday is a valid vote or an invalid vote. And that one way to clean that up or to clear that conversation is to take a revote on it, as there was some questions at the time that it was taken. I offer those comments and will be honoring the neighbors in our neighborhood and in our city, and will not be voting for this.
Can I ask, I guess, what were the questions with the vote? I was not at the last meeting.
It was ruled as failed during the meeting. So then we moved on and we didn't come to this next agenda item. After the meeting, the city council or the attorney for the city made a ruling that indeed the 3-2 vote constituted that it passed. I think, in full disclosure and for complete sunshine into this topic, we should revote on that topic in general. But again, I realize we are just a recommending body to the council, and the council can choose to do with it even if we voted it down. So I do recognize that.
Justin, sorry you weren't at the meeting, probably should have followed up with you. However, we did talk about at the end of the meeting that a 3-2 vote, we did think indeed did approve the measure. Stated that I'd like to get the city attorney's opinion on that, and the city attorney did agree with me that a 3-2 vote does indeed approve that measure.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I have a question on if of course this is approved and it goes on to the council. If it is not approved, how does that change procedures?
We have placed this on the council agenda tonight. I'd like to ask the council to proceed. However, I think that the council only wishes to proceed based off of a recommendation from P&Z, so that will be up to them. I was trying to be fair to the developer to ensure that we kept on his schedule though. So that's why we did place it on the council agenda for this evening.
In the past, I've seen the council look at this and send it back to P&Z to look at again. And I would like to pass that on, that maybe that's something they may wish to do from the comments that we've heard.
Okay, do we want to go ahead and take a vote then on the recommendation of recommending this to the council tonight? The preliminary plat site plan.
Would you like me to take roll call? Krista?
Yeah, I think we're, are we ready?
Yep, unless somebody else has something else to add. But if not, I will start with you, Bowersox, because you were the second.
Okay, yes.
Sires?
No.
Olfest?
No.
Vogel?
Yes.
Dietz?
No.
Hankins?
Yes.
Triplett?
No.
So we have a 4-3 vote.
One thing I would mention is the new subdivision requirements. Since this is a preliminary plat, the new subdivision requirements do kick in. And if any measure is recommended for council denial, there needs to be a recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission as to why it was denied. And in particular, if you have any code sections that you can refer to, that is helpful, where you feel there's a code violation. But again, the reasons are in your new subdivision ordinance. The reasons for the denial need to be specifically stated in your recommendation.
For me, is this where you want to hear from us as to why we denied it? Kathleen?
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, that would then be reflected in the minutes that Jenny.
Okay. I believe that the original master plan needs to be adhered to the 28 garden homes, that the by-attached duplex version is not consistent with the neighborhood, as we have heard from multiple neighbors, that the farmhouse style architecture is not the traditional architecture that was originally planned and agreed to. I also have concerns about not having, and if you are going to, I would appreciate looking at HOA fees and making consistencies in this neighborhood and assuring that it is upheld to a certain level and certain standard. Those are my comments.
Kathleen, my comments would be similar. I felt, even though it was in the fine print that by attached would be acceptable, that the fact that there was an attachment to that 2012 showing garden homes maybe have given false impression to the neighbors, which is understandable. So the townhome 2-story look, I don't think fits in that neighborhood. Also, the 2012 agreement required the 5,000 square foot lots. So I think even though this approval would lower that 4,000, I think those lots are too small for that area. And the neighbors have all agreed to meet with the developer. I think that would be a fair request on their part to discuss it. I think Jared and his team have done a good job of putting a proposal together, and I think they're very fair. They would be well served to meet with the neighbors, but I don't have a specific code that I can refer to a violation. I just don't feel that this got the input that it should have had, or the neighbors, even though they're outside the 250-foot radius, whatever, most of them really felt they had a fair hearing here, and I almost feel like we're rushing this through.
Okay, Dennis or Doug?
I don't have any additional comments. Thank you.
Deanna and Doug pretty much, I think, laid it out. The other additional item, I think, for me was having the independently owned duplex issue. I'm not sure over time how that would actually look if there wasn't some sort of organization to make sure the exteriors of those buildings were taken care of.
So this is Ron. If I could just take a minute and I guess kind of summarize to kind of give our councilman liaison a idea, or just kind of reiterate where we are at the current time. As we had, the PUD master plan. We did indeed do a recommendation. We received a stack of comments that applied mostly to that PUD recommendation. That weren't considered at the time that was done. Now this site plan did not pass on a recommendation. So I guess in summary, I would say that, P&Z is indeed in conflict about this, and, council can do what it can do, or, what it would like to do. It can, approve both, not approve both, or send it back to, P&Z. And I think Doug's Sire's idea about it, going back to P&Z is something that certainly has happened before, quite a few times in my tenure here, where the council says, gosh, you guys need to give this some more consideration. So that could be something done as well.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
I have one other question. Chelsea, can you, or maybe Jerry, can you help us understand why there seems to be a rush, or why this is, seems to be rushed, I guess?
I don't think there's a rush. We're following procedure. Jared has had several meetings with city staff where we've talked about this development. He met the deadlines to be at P&Z this month, and I know that he's on a schedule just like every other contractor. So I would not say that it's rushed. We're just following the process.
Okay. And Chelsea, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was about a year ago that you and I sat down and talked and looked at potential locations for a bi-attached concept. And this was one of the areas that was identified. And obviously we made a purchase agreement with NAP with that and worked through all of our due diligence items with them and with the city staff and engineering to get this far, obviously. And like I said, it meets the P&Z requirements. So that's the hard part from a, that's what I bought it for, was to build similar bi-attached units like this. So.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I think we've voted on this. Everything is in place for it to move on to the city council meeting at 6 o'clock. There's no other questions or comments. At this point, then we'll adjourn until our April 19th meeting, regular meeting.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to all of you for your comments and for the 5 o'clock meeting. Thank you.
Can you guys get a vote on adjourning, Krista?
Oh, yeah. Let's, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, the meeting is adjourned.